Hi, everybody. My name is Queen Anne Cannon, as you know. I'm hosting the Peninsula View television show, and today you're you're going to be very surprised. We have a really special guest today. It's a person I've known for many years, but he happened to visit us finally back in town. He skipped out like a lot of other celebrities from Santa Clara County, and now he's within the area, so I wanted him to come because since then he's retired and he's writing, and now he's writing. The first book I want to talk about is this one, but first I want to welcome you. Thank you, John, for coming.
Thank you.
And getting to reminisce about the past, and now we're going to talk about it. So let me know what you've been doing for the last several years since you left us.
Well, when I first left in 1994, I went to Los Angeles, and I became the affirmative action officer for Los Angeles County, which is a large county. 10 million people in the county, and 100,000 work for the county of Los Angeles. So I became the affirmative action officer, and then.
Which, by the way, you've been working in that area for a long time.
Yeah, I was Santa Clara County's affirmative action.
I just want to reiterate just for a moment because John Hill was responsible for Santa Clara Valley becoming affiliated with the National Urban League, because he not only raised all the monies that were needed, but he also provided a diverse board, and we were in full operation. And then he decided to take on a bigger, better job, and he left the city.
I love San Jose now.
I like to say that.
I had lived here for a long time and watched Silicon Valley grow to what it became, what it is today. But when I moved here, there were not a lot of blacks.
No, there wasn't.
Here.
There were very few.
And not a lot of blacks working in these corporations, and so part of our responsibility at the time was recruiting of African Americans and Latinos.
Because they were not in high jobs either. They're not high profile jobs. They're mostly entry level jobs.
That's correct.
And so you made it possible for people to come in at a higher level.
Yeah, that's correct. And we created what was called the Peninsula Association of Black Personnel Administrators.
Okay.
And that group recruited a large number of African American professionals into the valley. And they started working at IBM, HP, Rome Corporation, where I worked before, and so that was something that we were responsible for. We also got involved in the city and what was going on in city politics, because we wanted to make sure that we were included, and so we wanted to make sure that there were blacks working for the county of Los Angeles as well as the city of Los Angeles. And my wife started her job at the city of Los Angeles and working in the accounting department, and then moved into engineering because of affirmative action. They needed women engineers.
Okay, so then she was able to take on, and made sure that they got an opportunity. So this was in the 60s and 70s, right? This is, I call it the Renaissance area, because it was the first time, first time generation of black people that had all kinds of jobs, high profile jobs, and able to help other people come in and get jobs at all the different levels. So that was really most important at that time. And so that's why the Urban League was important. It was a national organization. We were very happy to be a part of it.
Correct.
And also, when you went to, were you with Maxine Waters when you went to LA? Was she part of that?
No. Yeah. When I went to LA, I was at a department head, but my bosses were the board of supervisors.
Oh, okay.
And on the board of supervisors was Supervisor Yvonne Burke. And
I remember Yvonne Burke.
Yeah, Yvonne Burke was one of the supervisors. Matter of fact, she's the first African American supervisor on the board of supervisors.
Okay.
And so I worked for the county in the affirmative action department, building it up to where it became a good organization to start really getting things done in the county of Los Angeles. And then I was recruited by Supervisor Burke as her chief of staff. So when I left the county affirmative action and became chief of staff to Yvonne Burke.
Wow.
And I was her chief of staff for 10 years.
For 10 years? Oh my goodness. So then you recently, I shouldn't say recently, you retired. Then you retired again, but left Los Angeles, right? And then I want to say this book, I think a lot of people are writing books of their memoirs, and I think that people like you have been very action oriented. I think this is a good idea for people to write down how it came to be so that it can inspire other people. So this one, Dreamer in the Fields, My Life as a Child of Migrant Farm Workers. So tell me a little bit about this book.
Well, this book came about because I did a lot of speaking with young people. Mm-hmm. And I would be speaking at high schools and colleges, and I would go to juvenile halls and jails and just speaking to kids about their life, and everyone was telling me how tough they had it.
So you decided to show them real tough, right?
Yes. The kids would say, my father's this and my father's that, or my mother does this. I started to say, well, let me tell you about my life.
Okay.
And how I grew up. I wasn't born with a silver spoon. I mean, I didn't go to college because I had these parents out here who had a lot of money.
Right.
And so finally, I remember one time I was talking with some gang members from South Central, and they said, you need to write a book so we can read it.
Oh, okay.
I said, if I wrote a book, would you read it?
Oh, okay.
And they said, yeah, if you wrote a book, we would read it. We promised we would read it.
Okay.
So I started
That was the beginning
writing.
of this. Yeah, okay.
That was the beginning of trying to write this book, and then I wrote it. I finished it after I had got out of after I retired from the county of Los Angeles. I finished the book, but the book is about the first 10 years of my life. I was a migrant farm labor kid in California, and we traveled.
You hear about that? I mean.
No, we traveled from Indio in Southern California all the way through the Central Valley, up to Oregon and into Washington State.
Wow.
And coming back down again. 9 of us kids, and my mother and father in one car, not a station wagon.
Ooh, everybody on top of each other, right?
We used to put my little sister, she would be up in the window in the back of the car, and my baby brother would be on the floor.
Oh my goodness.
But the rest of us kids were all in there, and one or two kids sitting in the front seat.
You remember the make of the car?
We had different cars at different times, because my father was able to talk people out of cars. So we ended up with different cars at different times, but they were not, not one time did we have an accident, and not one time did we have any kind of, and I always thought about that
yeah, no accidents.
God was watching over this crazy family out here. But between the first and the third grade, I went to 22 different grammar schools.
You kidding?
And I taught myself how to read by I would take stuff from different.
Oh, really?
And at that time, they gave you books.
Uh-huh.
And so I would take all of the books and put them in the back of the trunk of the car with the rest of our stuff. And I would take my sister's books who were older and my brother's books who were older, and I'd put those in. And I would start reading, and I read all my books. I read my books so much I memorized my books, so I started reading my sister's books.
Oh my goodness.
Who was a couple of grades ahead of me, and my brother's books. And I read everybody's books. And trying to stay on top of getting my education.
So you had enough, I don't say sense about you, to know that in order for you to stay abreast, you had to stay ahead of the game by reading all the books.
Yes.
And not that someone told you this or anything, it just came from, who knows?
Right.
The father.
And so I would read these books, and then I would start visualizing that the world is not what the world is not what I think it is.
Yeah, it doesn't fit your reality, right?
Something outside of this migrant labor camp.
Uh-huh.
And so I kept trying to reach for something outside of this.
Wow.
I wanted to be outside of living Both my parents were alcoholics. That's basically what they had to do. Both my parents drank and a lot and fight. They fought a lot. And I just wanted something different. I wanted to get out of this life.
Yeah.
But I'm a kid. And so what you're thinking is, how do I get out of this life without destroying myself? That was the first part of it. How do I get out
You
of
said
this life?
something instinctively said, I don't want this.
I don't want this.
I want something else that's better. Okay.
Yeah. And so
So we have it within us already.
it's
right?
within you.
It's okay, good.
And I think God gives it to all of us. Some people never see it. Some people don't see it until they're 50.
Okay.
You notice some people say, man, all of a sudden I got it. How old were you? 45. But I got it at 10.
At 10 years old. So you knew you were destined for something that's going to support others.
Yes.
Yeah.
I used to tell my parents, my father that. I would tell him, you know, I'm not going to work on a migrant labor camp when I get grown. I'm going to, he said, well, what are you going to do? Well, first of all, we lived in this place called Huron, California, which is in the Central Valley. And I would say, you know, over there, yeah, we passed it the other day. It was called Kalinga High School.
Oh, I
And I said, I'm going to graduate from the high school over there called Kalinga.
really?
And then I'm going to go to college. And he would look at me like, well, you're only 10 years old. I said, you watch me. I'm going to graduate. I don't know how I'm going to do it, I told him, but I'm going to graduate from high school.
And I think that's where the title comes from, huh? Dreamer in the Fields.
Yep.
Yeah.
My brothers nicknamed me the Dreamer because I was
They
always
did?
dreaming.
Okay, since you're on the subject, I want you to read a chapter. Just read something for us from then, so we can begin to visualize, you know, some essence of who you were at that time.
I would talk about my father because I always said my real father was a man of mystery. I didn't know much about him.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know we never knew anything real about him, where he was born. He told us, but then we found out later he wasn't born there.
Okay.
And then he told us again about what his real name was, and we found out later that's not his name. So he was a man of mystery, but you couldn't get to him. And I wasn't thinking at the time like I do when I got older that I can find out something about him, so I know I need to know about me, but I can't find anything on him. I can't even find his real name. I can't find where he was really born. And I've been on Ancestry.com for the last 10 years looking up, trying to find my
He's
father.
nowhere to be located?
Nope.
Did you know, do you have aunts, uncles,
He had,
cousins?
he had one sister that we think was his sister, but we don't
We
know.
don't know for sure.
we don't know.
Okay.
And so I would say, and I said, Dad never seemed to be at a loss or as how to get a control of any given situation. Part of my father's great survival instinct was his sense of humor, which I admired greatly. He was always laughing and he rarely took himself seriously. Generally speaking, you only got on his bad side by messing with his children. People, whether white, black, or brown, seemed to gravitate towards him. It didn't matter. Dad could communicate with a farmer as well as with drunks on the street. He had a way about him that drew people to him. And that's the thing about him I remember.
Well, I just like to say that's probably one of the qualities that he passed on to you, because you have that same quality that drew people to you for your leadership. So it comes in all ways.
Yeah, he used to call me Little Curly because my dad was nicknamed Curly. And I remember that as a kid. I remember it because everybody called him Curly. No one ever called him by what his real name was. They always called him Curly. And I asked him one day, why did they call you Curly? He said, my hair. My hair is curly.
Okay.
And so I get the nickname, and that's why you're called Little Curly, which is what people used to call me in the labor camp. Oh, there goes Little Curly. Because my hair was curly like his was.
Okay.
And so I remember some things about him, and I know he would take me with him more times than he would take the other kids. He'd want to go to another labor camp. He said, come on, John, go with me. And so we would ride together. But I never asked him questions.
You just observe him.
I just observed what he would do, but I never really got deep into. I'm 10, so that's probably
Yeah,
why I
about 10,
never.
you wouldn't,
That's
yeah.
why I never asked him, you know. And I didn't hear about the real names and different things until I was an adult. Then I heard about things like that. But he was just a man of mystery. But he was good to his. Not when he and my mother left when I was about 9. We got up one morning, she was gone. She never came back.
And she left all of you?
Left all 9 of us kids. She was gone.
Wow. She was tired.
Yeah,
huh?
for the next year and a half, he took care of us.
He did.
Cooked for us, he made sure we had baths, and made sure he just took over. And the only reason we left him was because he got in trouble.
Wow.
But other than
But he
that,
must, it sounds like he's still so much drive.
Yeah.
And independence and determination.
and work
Yeah,
ethic. He
yeah.
didn't believe in welfare. He didn't believe in government. These are my kids, and he said, I'm gonna take care of my kids.
Wow.
Ain't no government. I don't want your food. I don't want your money. These are my kids, and I will take care of my kids. And he tried. But sometimes he would, well, I'm going to go today and look for your mother, and he'd be gone 2 weeks.
Oh my goodness, 2 weeks. Then who would take care of things then? The older
The older
siblings?
brother, he was 13.
Wow.
And we would go to school. We would go to work on the fields. We'd save our money, and when he came back, we would give him the money that we worked for.
You're kidding.
While he was gone.
So you were a dreamer in the fields. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, do you think, did your mother ever come back? Did you
No.
ever see her?
Yeah, I saw her. When I went into, well, when I was 9, my father got in trouble. I was 9 and a half. I was almost 10. My father got in trouble and went to jail. And he must have told someone in the county of Fresno, I got 9 kids out on this migrant labor camp out in Huron. Because the next thing we know, the police showed up. Now, when you're on a migrant labor camp and the police show up, everybody on the labor camp yells, the police are here.
Oh my goodness.
And someone said, they're coming after the Hill children. So we scattered. All 9 of us, 8 of us scattered, just went different. And Thomas, my oldest, had to come one by one
And get you?
fight around us
That
up.
seems unbelievable.
And then they put us in the police car, and we were crying because we thought we were going to jail.
Yeah.
Because it's a police car.
Yeah, you would think that.
And so they took us into Fresno County. I'll never forget. And we were sitting in there, and all of a sudden this woman comes around the corner. And she walks over to it, and she says, my name is Mrs. Seals, and I'm going to be your mother.
Oh, that sounds like a movie.
We said, we already got a mother.
Yeah.
She said, well, I'm going to be your mother now. And she took all 9 of us and took us back to her home. And I was like, this is crazy. And so our whole point, when you're migrant labor kids and you're on a migrant labor camp, you eat where you can. You do for yourself as you can. And so we went to her house, and for the first week, we were stealing food and hiding it under the bed. She brought us new clothes, we slept in them, because we said if we leave here, the food,
You don't take those clothes with you. That was thinking.
the food's going,
Huh?
and we're going to have some food, and we're going to have new clothes.
Yeah, survival.
And so finally she said, no, you kids are not leaving. Stop taking the food. I got mice were coming into the room, and ants. And
Well, that was thinking. You guys were thinking survival.
that's the way our whole point was survive.
Uh-huh.
We've got to survive. And finally we got to the point where we started to believe that we were going to stay on the migrant labor camp. Off the migrant labor camp in this foster home.
Was she there by herself, or did she have a husband?
She had a husband. Her husband was a minister.
Oh, okay.
And he was extremely good to us, and she was extremely good to us. Finally, I got to the point where I said, you remember? I told myself, you remember when you were on that migrant labor camp, and you went into the back by yourself, like you always meditate? Because I would always meditate in the mornings. He said, you remember when you went to that? And you meditated and you told God that if he would put you in a stable environment where you could learn and grow, that you would take advantage of it?
Wow.
And I said, and then I told myself, this is the stable environment. There's no arguing, there's no fighting. They get up, they're parents, they cook breakfast, they cook lunch, they cook dinner. All we have to do is go to school and go to church. That's not a bad
amazing.
deal.
Yeah.
And so I told myself, okay, I've got to learn from this. I got to grow from this.
And you were like
10.
10 years old. That's
And I said, I am going to do whatever I can to make these two people happy so they don't get rid of me.
which is what a child would do. That's how you would think. But the other part is for you to meditate on that have that much thinking, forward thinking, to even say that.
Right.
You know, so that's amazing. So you were building, something was in you to build something even then.
Right. And so I went from the 3rd grade when I arrived at my foster parents' home through the 12th grade and missed one day of school. I never cut a class and was never tardy.
Wow. And that's all in this book.
All in this book. Just dreaming in the fields, and then once the reality hits you, what are you going to do with it?
Exactly.
So when I go out and talk to kids who are migrant, who are foster children, I said, when you get put in that foster home, you have to look at it as an opportunity, not an obstacle. My brothers looked at it as a problem. I looked at it as an opportunity.
Oh, okay.
I said, so you have to understand, when they put you in that stable environment, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to argue? Are you going to fight? Or are you going to say, wait a minute, I've gone to 22 grammar schools since the 3rd grade. Here, I've gone to 1, and I'm in a stable. I'm in a stable home. What do you do with it now?
What do you do with it?
And I said, so most of you missed the gift that you've been praying for, and it was granted to you, and you missed it.
You missed it.
Because you weren't thinking.
It wasn't thinking. And I imagine that the kids, they were like gang members and, you know, all kind of juvenile delinquency or abusive situations, that they had to start thinking then, what about me?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And it isn't where you've been. It isn't that your father left you, or your mother left you, or your mother's an alcoholic, or your father's like, listen, my mother was an alcoholic, my father, my grandmother, my grandfather.
That means nothing.
What does that got to do with me? See, and that's the point where people miss it. Is that, in other words, if I had flunked out of grammar school or high school, know what people would have said? Well, look at his life.
Yeah, look what his circumstances are. He poor thing,
Yeah, he wasn't.
But it wouldn't have made a difference to you because you'd have been flunked out of high school, right?
Right.
You still could make a difference.
And that's what people will say. They'll say, and so when I'm sitting in college, remember one day, and we were talking about our life, and I was telling the class what all of the stuff I come through, and the professor goes, you know, you're not even supposed to be here. I said, I know. That's the problem.
That's what you think.
That's what,
But I know somebody else.
you
right?
think that's exactly, and I said, that's exactly what the issue is. You know I'm not supposed to be here. And I could have went into juvenile hall, and then everybody, I would have had an excuse. Nobody would have said a word. But
They would
because
just say, well, look, of course.
But because I went on and graduated high school, graduated college, now they're trying to say, how did you get out?
Exactly.
And it's not that, you know, you really did a lot, but how did you do all of that?
Yeah.
And I said, it's all done through faith. I said, you guys, the problem with African Americans, this is why I wrote the book Sermon at the...
This is the second book. I will talk about that one too.
I said, the problem is black people in the United States are religious. I'm not. I'm faith. My faith carried me through. Because
And they need to distinguish what that is.
when they told me at 6 years old that God existed, I believed it. And if he existed, he's gonna help me. Cause I'm gonna stay on him until he helps me. That was my point. Now I'm gonna, this is my belief. I have a faith, because it says that if you have a faith, and it says small as a mustard seed, and you tell that mountain to move, it's gonna move. I have to have faith that God is going to do what he said he was going to do if I do what I said I'm going to do. So that was my whole point.
Wow.
If I do my part, God is going to do his part. So if I sit on my butt and do nothing, God's not going to do anything.
He said you don't want it.
Right. So I had to get out here and show. And I was like, to the point, when I was on the labor camp, in the book it talks about, I was going to commit suicide when I was 8 or 9. Because I believe in the Bible that God was going to help me. But he hadn't done anything. Through my period of time, you know what I mean? He hadn't done what I thought he was going to do. It was like, you haven't done your job. You said if I do this, you would do this. You didn't do it. So now I'm going to come see you, and we're going to have a discussion.
Like you're going to come back, but you're going to go, oh my God.
Right.
So whatever stopped you, thank God about that.
Right. And so you're thinking, but you're
you're thinking like an 8-year-old, right?
That's correct. You didn't do it, and you promised me. And in the book, my book, it talks about that I had a visitor. In my book, it talks about the visitor that came to see me. And I was in the back of the migrant labor camp. As I said, I'd meditate a lot. I'd always go back there to pray and meditate. And nobody knew I did that. My brothers, nobody knew. I just did it on my own. I would tell people I'm going to the bathroom because we had outdoor bathrooms. So instead of going to the bathroom, I go
in the back.
In the back where the cars were, old cars and stuff. And that's where I would meditate. So I was back there meditating. And that's when I told God, I'm coming to see you because you haven't done what you said you were going to do.
Did you write that part in the book?
It's in the book.
Oh, so there's a lot to gain from the book. And then anybody who wants to have their children see it, they should get it.
So 9 years old, I'm doing that. And then I went into it was about a month or 2 later, we went into foster care.
First of all, there's 2 things. I recommend this book to anybody who thinks that they don't know that they have a purpose for being here. Out of reading this book, it would inspire them to look deeper. And where can they purchase the book?
You can purchase the book through Amazon, or they can call me or send me a note on my website. Okay,
and we'll have that website available. And you could get the book to them.
Right.
So that's one, but this is fascinating because as long as I've known you, John, I never knew this part of, just like listening to a whole new person. Like, that explains a lot of your determination and your don't quit attitude, because I just keep going back to the Urban League because you said, no, we're going to get this done. And we're going to get it done in this amount of time. And we're going to have this money in the very diverse board. So we had like 1.5 years to get it done.
Right.
Which we had been trying for 10 years to get it done from different people would come and go, which I think that was necessary for different people to come and go. But when you came and said, we're going to get this done in this length of time, we put together a board, and then we got it done in that time. So now I can see where that kind of like already knowing came from. Because when you said something, you made it happen, you know. So, when you do you give lectures from the book, then the young people, when they see it, they come to you with realizations of anything? Yeah, there's one young man, I remember one time I was talking with a grammar school group, and one young man came up to me after everyone had left. I saw him standing around, but when he wanted to make sure he was by himself, when he came to me, and he said, Mr. Hill, I'd like to talk with you. And I said, and I want to help. I need to know how to deal with my alcoholic mother. Wow. And he was like, and this was like 4th grade. So we had a long discussion of, this is what you do. You continue to love her, but you may have to fix your own breakfast.
You may have to wash your own clothes. Your mother, but you'll be ended up taking care of her, but make sure you stay in school, you study. When she's passed out, you study.
Wow.
So when you come home and, do what you have to do, but keep your studies and make sure you study and get your grades and keep going. Because you can't help your mother being poor
Right.
or becoming
right,
just like her.
Right.
You're not going to help her that way. You got to help her by being something she looks up to. Both my parents were very proud of me because they both lived to see me start college.
Oh, they did? Oh, that's wonderful.
But they didn't get to see me, of course, finish, but they both saw me start. And to them, that was huge.
That was huge, yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like they got to pass happy, and I think that's very important when we get to whatever that time is, that we have some things we can look back on and say, I did that well,
Right.
So they can feel good about something.
When I was coming along, I had no mentor. I didn't have, and so when I went into foster care, my foster dad became my mentor. When I went into foster care, my foster dad was 70.
He was 70 years old?
And I was 9.
Wow.
And he became my best friend. He guided me all the way through high school and through the military and through some ups and downs that I was having. He was always there.
Well,
He
how
would
long did he
give me
live?
advice. He lived to be 93.
Wow. So he had a purpose here too. Yeah, he had something.
Yeah.
Okay. So which is the other book I want to talk about, because you called it The Sermon. So what's the name of the other one?
The other book is The Sermon at the Coliseum.
Okay, now explain just the title of that one first, because I was intrigued by just the title.
I've always believed that Jesus or an archangel of God has always been on the planet. They've never left. They're always here. And you can't see them because you never visualize what they will look like. And so, but they're always here. They've always been here. And they help us in so many different ways that we can't see it.
And we don't even realize
We
it.
don't even realize. That's who came to see me, was an archangel that God sent. Go talk to this young man down there. You need to go talk to him.
And he only talks to, and wait, I shouldn't say he only talks to those who listen. Only those who listen can hear.
Can hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what I'm saying is that I put together the Sermon at the Coliseum is that the archangel comes and he goes to this home to a non-believer and he tells him, I need to spend some time with you and your family. And the guy is getting ready to go to work. He said, but I got to go to work. And he said, no, you need to stay here. Don't worry about your job. Your job will be there when you get there. But I need to stay with you because I'm here doing a study on the United States.
So you're like the protagonist telling the story? Oh,
Yeah. He said, the United States was put together by God. This country that's why he's the one who put it together. That's why people crossed the oceans and didn't die. Most of them. They got here. And he built this country, but he built it in a certain way. And we in this country have backslid because we had slavery, weren't supposed to have that. We murdered people, weren't supposed to have that. And so a lot of stuff we have done, the angel is coming to do a report card on us in the United States to take back, to show God, this is what they've done.
Well, first of all, thinking right now of the government we have in office, right? He's gonna be real mad.
It's gonna be tested.
Like you guys have totally misused me.
That's correct. And so when he comes back, this angel moves into this house with a white family in Brentwood, which is the richest area down, one of the richest areas in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
He moves in with them. And the husband is a non-believer, but the wife is a believer in the kids. And so he says, I need to go out in the community and see what's going on. So first of all, he goes to this club. It was at one of the hotels, and he's sitting in the bar area. And this young lady comes in, and she says, can I sit down with you? And he goes, yeah, go right ahead. And then she sits there, and he starts telling her about her life, about her husband, her not having children, tells her about her job, and he tells her, you need to refocus.
Wow.
Refocus on your husband, refocus on what is important. And she was just like, and there's a black family sitting across from them, and he had already worked some miracles. He went into a McDonald's, and a young man came into McDonald's, and the young man was paralyzed. And he healed the young man in the McDonald's. And the newspapers and the TVs and everybody was there. So he's telling so at the bar, these people, there's a group of black people sitting there, and the black man and the other, they're very educated. Mm-hmm. And they're laughing about it, saying, oh, Jesus is gonna come to a McDonald's and heal somebody? Come on, that is, and this angel walks past the table and he hears him. He goes, how do you know Jesus is not talking to you right now? And he walks out. Later on in the book, he goes to their house and visits. But by this time, everybody in LA knows this angel is here.
He's walking around here.
Because he's been to East Los Angeles, talked with the Latinos. Now he's in South Central talking to the blacks. Mm-hmm. He's talked with the Asian community. He's talked with the gay community. He's talked to everybody. So at the end of the book is when he says, I want to talk to the entire nation. And that's why he's doing the sermon, his sermon at the Coliseum.
Now, where did this come from, Don?
I don't know.
You don't know? You just woke up and...
My wife, she don't know either. She don't know how I come up with this stuff. I haven't.
Really?
It just came to me, and I just started writing. And sometimes I'll get up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning because something comes to me, and I'll start writing.
Well, you know, they say that's when the Spirit, God, comes to people at
Correct.
2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, just before dawn. You
Right.
get your biggest inspiration. And that's when you started thinking, so nobody can listen to you without that's intriguing.
Yeah.
You know, not that I think that,
Right.
not that I've even heard of that before, but there was something about it that's intriguing. It wants me to know more.
Yeah, and so some people have read the book and goes, I don't get it. I mean, why would God do that? And I said, why wouldn't he do that? See, the biggest point is that no one believes that in other words, God is God, and he can do whatever he wants. So how do you know? He hasn't done this, but how do you know we as a nation? We were so caught up on Barack Obama being a black president that they sneaked in the devil. Because you were so caught up in your racism and in your prejudice that you didn't even see.
A crazy person.
You didn't see what was before you because you couldn't see it because you were blinded by this. So now you're doing everything you can to make this thing work. You're seeing people out here doing everything to protect this man because they don't want to think that they made a mistake. See, people do not like to believe they made a mistake.
You know, that's very, yeah.
And so they are trying to do everything. They're trying to prop this man up, and he keeps fooling them every single day because you don't know what props into, or you don't know what God has set for the United States. You have no idea.
So let me ask you this. I know we've been talking for a long time, but I'm intrigued myself. What is the message that when they get the book and they read it, like, what do you want from us as readers of the Sermon on the Colosseum?
I want you to come away with the point that God does things in mysterious ways. And why could not this be true? And when you will look at people differently. You will look at Latinos different. You will look at blacks different. You will look at whites different. You will look at every group different after you read the book, because you will understand that maybe God knows what he's doing.
And there's a change.
There's a change that should happen within you, that he loves every single person on the planet. Mm-hmm. God doesn't pick and choose who he loves. He loves he loves the wino as well as the guy in the White House. He loves everybody. You can't come in and say, God hates. God hates these people. I used to argue with my foster dad, who was a minister, because he used to preach certain things, and I would say, that's not true. And I'm like 12 and 13. I said, Dad, that's not true. You can't do that. Well, that's what it says in the Bible. No, it doesn't say that.
It's your interpretation, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's your interpretation of what it says. My interpretation is something completely different.
Wow.
I said, I read the same Bible. I said, I've read it 3 times, cover to cover, and I've studied it. It doesn't say that. Now, you assume that's fine, but it doesn't say that. And we would get into these arguments, and I would never disrespect him.
No.
Because he's my dad. But I would say, I disagree with you. I said, I can't believe that I worship someone that's going to do this. I said, that doesn't make any sense. If you say only people from Church of God in Christ are going to heaven.
That's what always puzzled me too, yeah.
Are you telling me Jesus was a Jew? He was a Jewish man. He had a Jewish daddy and a Jewish mama. But you're telling me those 6 million Jews who died in Germany all went to hell? I said, that doesn't make sense to me. And the Christians put them there. I said, I'm sorry, certain things I don't believe. I can understand why you say them. But I have to understand that God is bigger than me. And I don't know.
Has no limitations, like our limitations are here, yeah.
Correct. And I don't think that he's going to take 6 million people who were his son's relatives and throw them all. Wow. Babies, little children who don't. I said, I don't get that part. And I would say those kind of things like bothers me when it comes to religion and Christianity. The whole thing is I believe in him. That's all I have to do. I don't have to do all this other stuff y'all talking about. I believe in him. And I don't think that Jesus would have threw me away because I'm black. I don't think he would have done that.
Well, I tell you what, I am so glad you came on the show. Gave us a whole new broad spectrum. And I hope that everybody who's watching the show, they either call you, John Hill, or they contact Amazon. So maybe if you call John, you can have a conversation. You can see how interesting it would be to talk to him. You can get the book from there. But you know, if you prefer, just call Amazon and get the book. This one, I think, would be really good for anybody who thinks that their life has been difficult and they're doing the best they can. There's nothing else they can do. I don't care what you're doing. You don't have to be a juvenile delinquent, just have a lot of bad luck, as we call it, or made a lot of bad decisions. You can see there's always an opportunity in the bad decision. And the other one is like, just taking a look at life itself and how we programmed ourselves to believe or not believe certain things because of whatever. It's just an opportunity to open up and think something else, right? But we do have to come to an end because we can't go on forever. But it seemed like it would be great to have sessions.
Right.
You know, like session 1, session 2, like a series of question and answer periods or have an audience with different opinions and stuff like that. It would be wonderful. But I am happy that you came here, Peninsula View, to get a personal interview with you. And because I've known you for so many years, I am delighted to know the depth of who you are really, which I've always kind of felt anyway, but now that you talked about it, I feel it at an even deeper level. So I'm happy to can say I've known you for a long time.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I've known you've been one of my best friends and one of my big supporters, and supported me in everything I tried to do here while I worked in the Valley. And so when you asked me to drive up here to do this, my wife and I both decided we'd drive
Well, I'm glad
up
you did.
because it's you.
So, yes, really, this is Peninsula View, Queen Anne Cannon interviewing the awesome John Hill. He's written these 2 great books that I encourage you to purchase. And thanks for watching Peninsula View.